this week. This is the first of our Mondays with Morgan, a weekly live stream. So this week I'm joined by my campaign manager and very close friend, Mitch Deck. Mitch, thank you so much for doing the first one of these with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Morgan.
Thanks, Mitch. So a big part of what we're missing from being able to campaign is the opportunity and the chance to be able to knock on doors, to canvass, to actually talk to voters where they are, and to be able to hear and really answer a lot of the questions that are on people's minds right now. And so the idea that our team envisioned for what these weekly events are going to be like is the chance for you to be able to ask me any questions you want, anything at all about the subjects that are most interesting to you. If you're missing sports and you're missing the fact that after the last dance concluded, there isn't any more basketball to go on, that we're here to talk about basketball, we're here to talk about sports, we're here to talk about the current political climate, we're here to talk about whatever that most matters to you. So please, if you're watching and you want to be a part of this conversation and you want to have your questions be answered and be at the forefront of this kind of conversation, then I encourage you to be able to text in your questions at 888-M-SHOWEN. It's M-S-H-O-W-E-N. For those who are watching on Facebook and Twitter, if you scroll up to the top of the page, you'll see that number listed there. So please text in any questions you might have at any time throughout the live stream each and every week, and we'll be more than happy to be able to answer those questions. I thought just for a brief starting point, Mitch, if you, before we get into some of the questions that have already been submitted, if you just want to talk a little bit about like what a regular day during a virtual campaign looks like, because I imagine that might be a decent question of, well, they're running for office, they're running a campaign, what the heck are we doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, the day is surprisingly filled with a lot of things. We basically have the pleasure of doing everything that we'd be doing in an office setting, but from home. So the day starts out with Morgan and I on the phone at 10 a.m. every single day, talking for about 30 minutes to an hour about what's going on today, what we need to be getting done. Most days from there, we roll into call time for about an hour and a half, calling people on the phone, talking to people about the issues that matter, as well as, making those asks. From there, we've been doing a lot of donor research, filling out our strategy, working on advertisements, helping our comms team out, and giving them some guidance there. And then we roll into the evening, have some more call time, and that's about a day in the life of a campaign.
Exactly. Well, we try to keep as full a schedule as possible, knowing that this district in 2020, I think, is going to be one of the most competitive races in the fall, and might shock a lot of people for how far we think we can go. So I'm super excited for what we got going forward. Do you want to start on some of the questions?
Yeah. So the first question I have here is from Emma, our communications director. So Emma says, as we all know, we're being encouraged to stay at home right now. What is the one restaurant you find yourself ordering takeout from the most, Morgan?
It's a decent question. I actually live about halfway between Cincinnati and Mason. So the difficulty there is that there aren't a lot of very close items that our family on a regular basis would get takeout going through the years when I was growing up here, or just even now. So what I would say that we often did the most growing up is there's a place called Comet's Pizza in Mason that's about a 10 to 15 minute drive away. It's got this excellent thin crust. It's real good. And I actually, one of the few items that our entire family can agree on is real good food. So I think that Comet's Pizza is probably something that we're missing and something that we look forward to getting back to.
So have you not been ordering takeout very much during the quarantine?
No, nope. I've tried to take up we make a lot of meals at home. We'll occasionally eat more sometimes as a family, but I mainly just cook for myself. So.
Oh, wow. See, Hannah and I are real bad. We Uber Eats all the time. Mexican is a very good option, but the best thing ever is the Kroger self-rising crust pizza. Is the best pizza, and it costs like $2.
Really?
Yeah, no, like it's extremely good, and it has no right to be that good because it's Kroger brand, and costs $2 for a whole pizza.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in, and that is a staple whenever we go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad there's something maybe we can try there. I don't like that. So, all right, what's next on the list?
All right, let's talk movies. What's your favorite movie genre? Hunter wants to know.
All right, Hunter, thanks for the question, bud. He's one of our excellent interns on the communications team. So, Hunter, well, two things. I can give the answer you might expect of a politician, or I can also give you the answer that I spend probably the most time on YouTube watching old clips of, and that's all of the 23 different films from the Marvel Universe. And so I absolutely have too many of those scenes and lines committed to memory, and love that entire process too much. There's a cinema, Colony Square Cinema, which is close to downtown Lebanon, and I can remember growing up. It was back in 2011 when that movie came out, and I can remember going to see it after it had been out for a little while with a friend of mine, and we had the entire movie theater itself to ourselves. There was nobody else in it. It was just me and my friend being able to watch the first Captain America movie, and it was beyond the coolest thing ever. So love all those films. The answer that I would give that if I'm thinking about politics or government otherwise, I love movies that are based on historical items that are then portrayed fictionally. It's not a documentary, but I love movies like Daniel Day-Lewis's Lincoln. I can quote an entire section when he gets upset at his cabinet members. So that's something I absolutely love.
So, would you put Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in the same category?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even say that I've seen that show before, but yes, I've seen the book covers at the very least, and no, definitely not. I wouldn't put it in the same category.
Yeah, that was a good movie. The axe is actually a shotgun.
Okay. What about you? What's your favorite genre overall?
That's really hard. I really like critically acclaimed movies. I haven't seen a whole ton of them, like all in all. So it's really fun for me because I get to like discover like these gems that everybody already knows is really good, and I just get to really enjoy it. We had like this bracket that we were working on when nobody had a job, and we were still in school.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get through these movies. We didn't get too far. We got about halfway done probably with it, but it was like an NBA bracket. So it's the whole, it's supposed to be or not NBA, sorry, NCAA bracket, college basketball, which obviously is canceled. So we turned it into movies and TV shows.
All right.
It was really fun watching Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill parts 1 and 2 with Lee and Matt, though.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, Uma Thurman makes an appearance in both of those, or all three of those movies. We got the pleasure of explaining to Lee and Matt that Uma Thurman was not just a name from a Fall Out Boy song, and was actually a person, and that she was in all of the movies. So that was really fun.
Yeah, that's good. That's fun.
Speaking of sports getting canceled, what's your favorite sport? Paige is asking.
All right. Paige is our senior policy advisor for the campaign. We asked most of the team to submit questions ahead of time for everyone who's watching. So real fun. Or at least when I was growing up, 4th through 12th grade, I played football for the Lebanon team. I grew up on the new expansion of the youth league for Lebanon. And the expansion for the youth league meant that anyone who wasn't already claimed as the good players for the other teams was then collected onto essentially one team. And so we won one game in 3 years from fourth through sixth grade, and apparently neither of first through third grade they won a game either. So I was proud to enter in my rookie season and be a part of that first and only win for Lebanon Youth Silver, which the colors, they're all broken down by the different colors for the Lebanon logo. So loved football. I played quarterback for Silver growing up, eventually transitioned to defense in high school. I played through senior year, but I had my last snap that I ever played sophomore year in high school. I had a long series of injuries that could be traced even back to playing pickup football in like primary school. So I dislocated a bone in my ankle in second grade playing football. So it started young and it continued there from out. I've broken a collarbone, I've broken a shoulder socket, torn ligaments, cut my arm open. I've trying to learn a different sport. I broke my nose and some of my teeth. So all fixed now. I'm doing great, but for the most part, sports, I love them. They don't love me, and I really just need to be a passionate fan. I grew up. My parents they lived before they came to Ohio. They lived in Denver, Colorado, and the surrounding area for close to 10 years. And so I've grown up a passionate Denver Broncos fan. So last few years have been in the same boat as the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm hoping that this year both teams can be a little bit on the upside.
Yeah, the Bengals should hopefully do better if they are allowed to play football.
Yeah, that's true. Who knows in the end?
And see, the funny thing is, talking about the different Lebanon teams, I got to play against those teams in high school,
Really?
junior high. Yeah,
All
so
right.
it's highly likely that we were on opposite sidelines, staring at each other, just not knowing it.
All right.
Because I was Walnut Hills lost very badly when I was in high school and junior high. In junior high and seventh grade, we won like one game of the entire season, and that was it. Lebanon certainly destroyed
Good
us.
Good work. That's good. All right, what else we got?
Let's ask another question from Paige. What's your favorite thing about your hometown?
Favorite thing about Lebanon? For context, for anyone who's Lebanon has an incredibly large school district just by area. So we have this geographic span that's kind of ridiculous where I live about 2 miles outside of the school district. So I'm just about as close to Mason High School as I am to Lebanon High School. But grew up in Lebanon. I guess this kind of goes back to the sports point, but the community that comes out every single Friday night for a football game is incredible. The total town for Lebanon is mid 20,000s total for our population for city size, but there at least was 3,000 to 4,000 people who'd show up for a Friday night football game. At least that's what they told us for the stats we were watching when the high school coaches tried to get you excited about the game. So absolutely love being able to run out and see all those people. There was our walkout theme music was always the Halloween theme, which was really, really kind of spooky. You go out with your brothers in arms, and yeah, it was such a sight to see to have the entire community kind of rally around that and the way that this town in particular treats football. So I love that about Lebanon. But yeah, that's probably the best thing.
That's certainly something unique to Lebanon. I have not experienced that in the city here.
No, I don't think so. Cincinnati as a whole is a great place, but with Walnut Hills being split apart, I don't think you get like that kind of same experience.
No, my parents were always there in the crowd, and so were my grandparents, and that was the best thing ever for me. But the whole community would not show up. That was not of interest.
No, I don't think so. Uh, yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna miss those games in the fall. I haven't gotten a chance to really go back and see anything since I graduated, but
Yeah.
still, I'm missing the concept of it not being out there.
Well, speaking of the fall and schools, Kathy is curious about what your thoughts are on how the schools are gonna look, the classrooms are gonna look. She's talking about PPE, student safety. What are you gonna be doing? You're a college student. You've
Yeah,
experienced that up in Michigan. What about high school? You've been there too.
yeah. So it's a huge unknown. We've got Governor DeWine has been steadily working over the last couple of weeks to try and reopen portions of our state's economy in a way that is socially distant and protected and able to try to combat both the economic depression that we're now in, while also at the same time ensuring that the public health crisis doesn't immediately magnify by enhancing the spread. And we've seen the absolute difficulty in that it is incredibly difficult to keep the crowds down at restaurants and bars. It is difficult to enforce social distancing, and so there are so many kinks to work out to protect public health overall that have to be considered before we're able to open everything back up and before we're able to actually really bring schools back to where they are rightfully supposed to be. And so for this fall, bar none, we have to ensure that we're not asking faculty and the families of students and the students themselves to come in and go to work and go to school and be expected to learn and for teachers to educate children in an unsafe environment. And it's both a risk to the teachers and faculty overall, and with some of the recent items we've seen where there are some surprising adverse symptoms in school-age children, that there is a huge concern that even if the symptoms have been touted to be mild overall for younger people, that there is going to be a significant problem of exposing young kids to this virus as well. So there's ways that other countries have gotten around this, that where almost every single day, every student and member of faculty is getting a test. This doesn't prevent spread. This only identifies where those are, and hopefully then you can contact trace and protect and otherwise. But if we're going to do anything close to real in-person school in the fall, it's going to have to be minimum size classrooms. It's going to have to be massive amounts of PPE distributed to all students. And even if we go virtual as a whole, there are so many problems with that, with too many Americans and Ohioans and otherwise not having proper access to broadband internet and the technology that they need. I know Lebanon has a great program that they've instituted since I left there that allows and gives a Google Chromebook to every single one of the students, and it's expected back at the end of the year. But still, that means that there's an opportunity to be able to ensure that everyone has at least access to the hardware necessary for online learning. And we can't afford to let an entire generation of students fall back in their education and to set them back overall as they approach college and into the workforce. But at the same time, we can't expose so many members of the faculty and the families to the possibility of getting infected. So I don't have a great answer there, Kathy, and I'm sorry I don't. I know I probably said a bunch of the facts that you already know, and I know that it's scary, and I thank you and so many other educators like you for doing what you have done and will continue to do to try to keep our children up to date and knowledgeable about what's going forward. But I hope that over the summer we'll have a better answer here soon.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, getting ready to go into law school now, the dean's actually been emailing us, and she's been talking about how the law school is putting in place plans to do both virtual and in-person classes at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, there's no official plans from UC Law or anything like
Yeah.
that yet. They're waiting on both the state government as well as the university body to really decide what's the plan, what is going to be the necessary procedures. But they're talking about, small class sizes going in person, and then other days of the week staying home and going virtual to class. Yeah. So it's just really interesting to see how it's going to be impacting our education system in the coming year or years.
Yeah. My younger sister just graduated Lebanon, and so excited for her to be able to go off to the University of Colorado or Colorado University in Boulder next year. It's going to be fantastic. She gets to go there, and she's graduated Lebanon. But to not have that guarantee after working for so long and to not know 100% that she's going to get to go there, that is such a difficulty, and it's such a financial and personal strain for so many people that have to wonder, is it the right idea to send my kids back to colleges next year? Should they take a gap year? Should they delay their education? That was your original intent as well. You were going to take a gap year. It was going to be your plan that you put forward, that you had talked with me about the idea that you could get more career experience or otherwise in that amount of time between law school. But with there being so limited numbers of a job market overall, that law school made more sense. And so it's going to be different for every single family. It's going to be different for all of us making those choices. But to have everyone's future be up at this crucial moment in so many young people's lives truly just sucks. And I feel for everyone who has family members going through that and who is currently going through that. So,
yeah, you said the best way you can. I don't think there's anything better to say about that. We're going to try and get a bit more lighthearted again after we did some coronavirus discussion.
Let's do that.
Abby, another one of our interns on the communication team, is curious. What's your favorite thing about living in Ohio? Ohio gets a lot of slack in the news, but a lot of grief really. But what's good going on in Ohio?
Yeah, and I know this isn't going to sound me giving compliments about the state of Ohio is going to come weird from someone who will be an alumni of the University of Michigan. So I know that sounds weird. I know that it sounds odd that I chose to go to Ohio's biggest rival, and that was my logic there. But I love my state because I think that there is one of the largest just complete varieties of things that you can find in any state overall. You've got you can find places that look like they're in the Great Plains in the middle of Kansas. You've got places that look like they're in downtown New York City, like downtown Columbus. We've got just about every Hall of Fame known to mankind for who knows what reason, but we do. We've got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We've got Pro Football Hall of Fame. Those are fantastic to both visit. And we've got tons of Major League sports teams that will eventually reopen. And even though our state has not in recent years had the same or the same number of people that are coming to our state more than anywhere else, it's still a fantastic place to raise a family, and it should be. And that should be the priority of anyone running for office overall, is to try to continue to make this place as wonderful as it can be. So.
Yeah, no, what you said about the diversity in terms of like what we have here, I think is really critical. Speaking of that and what we do have here, you knew this was coming. Let's talk about amusement parks, Morgan.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, first off, we got two of the best amusement parks in the world, probably, Kings Island, Cedar Point. Which one is the better one, Morgan?
Oh, Kings Island. It's not even close in my mind. And yes, that is 100% a bias. That is 100%. I spent 5 years of growing up in Lebanon, taking the 20-minute commute over to Kings Island and working 60-hour weeks every summer, and I absolutely loved it. I worked in the rides department with you. This is where we first met when we were growing up, and it's just the best summer job. Just the best. I can't say probably enough good things about how much fun it can be to work there, how much time you can spend in a day where you get to work at 8:45 in the morning, work until 10:30 at night, and then still want to go get food with your friends who have you've just worked with and been on a 12-hour shift with after that. I can't imagine having gone to another form of work or otherwise as a growing up summer job that could have provided any more. And so that's the fun part about the work. I like the fact that Kings Island, the amusement park as a whole, isn't just kind of stacked on top of each other. Cedar Point, I feel like I'm going to step on someone's lap bar or coaster in itself just by walking anywhere. So that's personal opinion. I imagine you're going to come back with the opposite.
No, I would agree. I like Kings Island better.
Yeah.
The Cedar Point rides really take the cake in terms of like just how intense they are.
Sure.
But that's like it's a fun thing because you don't like at Kings Island. I feel like I'm kind of desensitized to all the rides because I've had the opportunity to ride them constantly.
Yeah.
Because once you have your ID and you can get into the park for free, it's very easy just to continue showing up as a guest.
Absolutely.
Or even riding rides, in the morning before we open.
Yep.
So, the thrill of the rides at Cedar Point is still 100% there. What is your favorite ride at Kings Island, since everybody listening has probably been to Kings Island or at least knows about it?
Favorite ride at Kings Island. I've got a roller coaster favorite, as in being someone who lived at an amusement park essentially for 5 years of my life, or at least 5 summers of my life. The thrill, I enjoy riding Banshee more than just about anything. I worked there for a brief amount of time as a supervisor. As a just pure, it's funny, and the jokes that can be made about it and its counterpart, the Adventure Express and the Viking Fury being just the 2 funniest things that could exist for the people that work there, and overall enjoyment of just the fun part of an amusement park. So, yeah.
Well, you certainly spent a lot of time at the Adventure Express. That's where I got to be your boss, which was a fun time.
Yes, that was good.
I personally, though, I think Slingshot is a better ride than anything else in the park. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan, are you going to ride Orion when it opens up?
Am I gonna ride a ride?
Yeah, are you gonna ride Orion?
You say I'm gonna ride Orion? Yeah, of course I'm gonna ride Orion. I'm looking forward to it whenever we finally get the chance to. And yeah, I think that's where I am right now. I got one question. Twitter. This is from Ethan. His question is Star Trek or Star Wars? Mitch, what do you think?
100% Star Wars. I've seen all the movies multiple times. Hannah can attest that I like Star Wars. There's a Star Wars poster behind me, and the one above that. Hannah's more in love with Star Wars than I am. She's by far the best person I know who knows anything about Star Wars. She knows everything there is, and it's fantastic to listen to her talk about it. That's one of my favorite things, because when I don't know something, like my parents ask me because they don't know that much about Star Wars. They know the movies that came out when they were young. Mm-hmm. But like I ask Hannah about Star Wars because she knows way.
That's good. I couldn't agree more. Star Wars takes the cake. Sure, there is a very differing quality to the 9 movies plus however many others that we have now created. But definitely nothing gets you more excited than a Star Wars movie. So, yeah. Is that all the questions, Mitch?
Yeah, I think that is all the questions. We could go on talking forever, but that's
probably could. But we got to save something for next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. So
yeah.
Well, thank you for everybody who tuned in to watch. This is our first of the weekly Mondays with Morgan virtual happy hour Q&A. It's a very long title, so we'll just call it Mondays with Morgan. And thank you so much for everybody for watching. Please don't feel free to be able to text in any questions or comment at any time to be able to join in a part of this weekly conversation, or if you just want to be a part of what's going on. So thank you so much to everybody for watching, and hope that you and your families are staying safe.
Thank you all so much.